On the day our sect chose spirit beasts, I picked the playful little tabby rolling at my junior sister's feet. My senior brother shook his head in dismay. You're the most gifted cultivator in a century according to the master's prophecy. Why not choose the spirit serpent that would aid your cultivation? I sneered. The spirit serpent, driven by selfish affection, secretly pledged allegiance to my junior sister, in my past life. When I was on the verge of transcending to the divine transformation stage, it conspired with her to steal my destiny, shatter my dantian, and bring about my demise. This lifetime, I shall grant them their wish. The celestial spirit sect binds foundation establishment disciples to spirit beasts through pacts every decade. Though I've been in the sect for less than a decade, my cultivation has already reached the golden core stage. My master says I'm the most gifted cultivator he's ever seen. Destined to ascend to immortality within 1,000 years, when one achieves immortality, the entire sect basks in the glory. Thus, the sect grants me priority access to all resources, ensuring my cultivation progresses unhindered. This time was no exception. The senior disciple rubbed his hands eagerly as he explained, "Our master has spared no expense this time. That's a spirit serpent with azure dragon lineage. Once you form a contract, your cultivation speed will skyrocket." I looked up. The serpent, dozens of meters long, was confined within an iron cage. Though subdued, it retained an unyielding pride, its emerald green scales shimmering with faint golden light. Even the most ignorant person could tell this was a treasure, but the spirit serpent merely glanced at me with utter disdain upon hearing senior brother's words. When junior sister Olivia appeared clutching the struggling kitten, the serpent's gaze became glued to her, radiating heartbreaking reluctance. The junior sister looked utterly wronged. She flung the kitten in her arms to the ground with a thud, complaining bitterly to her senior brother, "After fighting tooth and nail with my fellow disciples, all I got was this useless runt of a cat. How come senior sister Sky gets a noble-blooded spirit serpent without lifting a finger? I wanted a spirit serpent too." Her words trailed off into helpless sobs as she began crying to herself. The pear blossom's tearful beauty made the nearby spirit serpent thrash violently against its cage, sending the onlookers stumbling backward in alarm. The senior brother moved to intervene. I tugged his sleeve and crouched down, beckoning with a cheerful wave to the hissing kitten. "Here, little one, I've got treats." Abandoned by the junior disciple girl, the kitten now faced the spirit serpent's menacing presence. It was all puffed up and hissing non-stop. Hearing my voice, it paused, hesitating slightly, but eventually came trotting over on stubby little legs, approaching me with cautious steps. As warmth filled my arms carrying the faint scent of sun-dried wheat, my nerves finally settled. Looking up at his junior sister calmly, he said, "The sect has done its utmost to be fair. There's no need for you to reproach your senior brother. Since you desire the spirit serpent so much, I shall yield it to you. I want the little raccoon cat." Uncontainable joy sparkled in the junior sister's eyes. My senior brother beside me lost his temper. "Sky, don't bother with Olivia. Though the master calls you a genius, you've never been arrogant. You always help fellow disciples wholeheartedly, and the entire sect willingly lets you choose first. That Olivia is lazy and gluttonous. It took her 9 years just to reach foundation establishment. How dare she steal your opportunity?" I shook my head, wanting badly to tell my senior brother. "That spirit serpent is no blessing. It's a backstabbing viper that strikes when you're vulnerable." "I'm Sky, who joined the celestial sect 9 years ago. My master found and brought me here. The village where I was born was attacked by demons, leaving no survivors. My parents hid me in a giant pickle jar, sealed it with a boulder, then sacrificed themselves to lure the demons away. That's how I narrowly escaped death. My master told me that when he found me, instead of cowering in fear, I drew his sword and swore vengeance for my parents. Impressed by my courage, he cast a divination for me. Thus came the prophecy. When I first joined the sect, it dawned on me belatedly that I'd lost both parents. Heartbroken, I became as prickly as a hedgehog toward outsiders. Yet no one in the sect ever shunned me. They melted my defenses with kindness and nurtured my growth with resources. That's why when I saw the spirit serpent in my past life, it felt like gazing at my former self. Even when it was wild and untamed, I treated it with all my heart. When it lacked elixirs, I took on bounties day and night, then splurged fortunes at auctions to secure the rarest treasures for my spirit serpent. When it needed spiritual energy, I swallowed my pride to join other cultivators, risking life and limb in mystic realms to seize heaven-sent spirit springs for it. Yet despite all this, I still couldn't win its affection. I often fought high-level demonic beasts for a single elixir, exhausting myself to the brink of chi depletion before barely making it back to the sect. The spirit serpent merely scoffed, useless, at the sight of me, then casually slithered back to the cave abode I'd built for him, completely indifferent to whether I lived or died. Yet he'd shamelessly claim every resource I obtained without the slightest hesitation, until the day I helped him achieve human transformation. Her jade-like complexion and cascading raven hair shimmered with an ethereal glow, as if a celestial maiden had descended to earth. Yet his demeanor toward me remained frosty. I consoled myself that his cold exterior must conceal a warm heart. Besides, a spirit serpent with azure dragon lineage was bound to have a temper. One day, I dragged my exhausted body back to the sect, only to witness the spirit snake fawning over junior sister Olivia while presenting treasures. The very item in his hand was the soul convergence pill I'd spent hundreds of thousands in gold to acquire at the auction. Consuming this pill could cause one's cultivation to skyrocket. I'd only obtained two, one for him, and one reserved for my own cultivation breakthrough. The junior sister pretended reluctance before accepting it, feigning concern with affected sweetness. If you give me such a precious elixir, what will you do for yourself? Wouldn't senior sister Sky scold you for this? At the mention of me, Spirit Snake's face twisted into a sneer as she scoffed. That Sky woman has always groveled before me, granting my every whim. She'd never dare raise her voice at me. She's got another pill stashed away. The moment I demand it, she'll hand it over without protest. I laughed in bitter frustration. Now I fully understand. Whether kindness can bear fruit entirely depends on who receives it. My master and sect members showed me kindness, and I repay their grace with unwavering loyalty, never bringing shame to our sect. I treated the spirit snake with kindness, yet it exploited me as a fool, leaving me fighting for survival while it reaped the rewards with junior sister. So I thought my devotion was redemption, but he saw me as a simp. I'm not that pathetic. That same day, I reported the matter to my master and the entire sect. After some searching, we indeed found a trove of rare spiritual treasures in my junior sister's quarters. Her roommate gasped in shock, crushing my last shred of mercy. So these elixirs were yours all along. No wonder Olivia kept boasting how she didn't need to lift a finger when some fool would hand her everything on a silver platter. That fool she mentioned, me. Chapter 2. To make matters worse, our master discovered Olivia had been treating my hard-earned treasures like worthless trash, selling them off for pennies. Too, a priceless mystic fire pill that could fetch a fortune at auction. She sold it for mere 500 gold coins just to splurge on some flashy mountain stone hair ornaments. Blinded by vanity, the rage literally made me spit blood on the spot. Our master flew into a fury and ordered Olivia's expulsion from the sect. The spirit serpent roared at me in wrath upon hearing this. You're just banishing Olivia out of jealousy, because you could never win my affection, Sky. You're narrow-minded and ruthless. Karma will catch up with you. With that, it fled in panic, fearing our master would imprison it. Just as I was about to reach the deity transformation stage and face the 49 heavenly tribulations, the spirit serpent and Olivia joined forces, ambushing and slaughtering dozens of sect disciples before breaching our defenses during my weakest moment. Olivia pierced through my dantian with her sword, then used the serpent clan's unique abilities to steal my destiny and cultivation. In my dying moments, I only saw the serpent tenderly embracing Olivia. Olivia leaned down and whispered triumphantly in my ear, Sky, what does it matter how hard you train? What does it matter if the master prophesied you'd be a genius? In the end, you've just been paving the way for me, Olivia, reborn with vengeance. I yearned to run these vile creatures through with my sword, yet the heavenly Tao forbade it. It declared, my rebirth was granted for talent's sake, but in this realm, Spirit Serpent and Olivia remain blameless. To slay them now would be wanton murder. Heaven's wrath shall scatter my soul to the winds. Only when they err again shall my vengeance become divine retribution. Thus, I endure. I forsake the Spirit Serpent, cease its celestial offerings, and play the fool no more. Let's see what tricks they can pull off. Senior brother was unaware of the inside story, but with the spirit beast selection already decided, he could only purse his lips and urge Olivia and me to form contracts with the two creatures. I bent down and gently stroked the little raccoon cat's head. Its fur was dappled with gray and white patterns, though still petite in size. Upon closer inspection, its markings were quite exquisite. I placed my hand before the little raccoon dog, letting its damp tongue lick me repeatedly until it fully recognized my scent. Only then did I smile and ask, would you like to form a contract with me? Pfft. Olivia's mocking laughter came from beside us. I looked up to see Olivia proudly stroking the spirit serpent by her side, covering her mouth as she said, Senior sister, forming contracts with spirit beasts requires true strength. Trying to reason with a little raccoon cat, what a waste of breath. Before I could speak, the senior brother beside me snapped impatiently, strength, you say? If we're talking real strength, you wouldn't even make the list if we ranked every disciple in the sect. Don't push your luck after getting the advantage. Hurry up and form the contract. The sect disciples complained indignantly. Senior Sister Sky is powerful, warm-hearted, and generous. We wholeheartedly accept her contract with the spirit serpent. Who the hell do you think you are? Bottom-tier cultivation and utterly lazy. You should be grateful Senior Sky gave you this chance instead of showing off like an idiot. Olivia's face flushed with alternating shades of humiliation. The spirit serpent flicked its forked tongue at the crowd, trying to defend Olivia in its own way, but it forgot. Without human form and weaker than Olivia itself, this pitiful threat carried no weight. With a flick of his wrist, the senior brother effortlessly subdued it using spiritual energy. Only then did the man and serpent properly form their contract. I placed my hand on the little raccoon's head as silvery light spilled forth. The raccoon officially became my spirit beast. Live and die together, advance and retreat as one. As we departed, perhaps having successfully formed a contract with the spirit serpent, Olivia revealed her true colors, seizing the moment when no one was around. She pushed her way before me and gloated, Sky. Swear you'll yield the spirit serpent to me and never regret it. The little raccoon cat grew terribly weak after forming the contract. Hearing this, it struggled to lift itself from my arms and hissed at Olivia, stroking its head with a wry smile. I said, this little raccoon is far better than your spirit snake. Why would I ever regret it? The raccoon immediately buried its face shyly into my chest, taking my taunt as sour grapes. Olivia scoffed coldly, wishful thinking. But you'd better never live to regret this. Returning to my cave abode, I had the little raccoon leap into the spring in the backyard. This was a mystical spring I'd transplanted from a secret realm. It could cleanse meridians, regenerate marrow, heal wounds, and restore spiritual energy with ease. But the little raccoon had an innate fear of water. It curled up tightly in my arms, its tiny paws gently clutching my clothes with trusting eyes full of dependence. My heart melted as I cradled it with utmost care. Only after I'd worked up a sweat did the little tabby gradually get accustomed to the water. I sighed in relief, though the stifling heat remained. Without hesitation, she shed her garments, draping them over the nearby rack, revealing her jade-like skin before slipping into the spirit spring. Splash, unaware of the peculiar behavior of the little raccoon behind me. Chapter 3. When I turned around, I saw the crimson-faced raccoon plunging headfirst into the spring, barely able to catch its breath. 3. I quickly scooped it up, my heart aching with concern. My apologies, I wasn't thinking clearly. Your constitution is still weak. The spirit spring's energy is too much for prolonged exposure. Let's get you back on shore. The little raccoon cat scampered away in a flash. I shook my head with a sigh of resignation. I was too impatient. The little raccoon's constitution is nothing like the spirit serpent's. Helping it cultivate requires gradual nurturing. Over several days, my cultivation steadily advanced from the first stage of golden core to its peak, with faint signs of breaking through to nascent soul, yet the raccoon's cultivation showed no progress whatsoever. Its physique was like a bottomless abyss. No matter how many rare treasures I fed it, they vanished like stones dropped into a chasm without even an echo. It was the spirit snake that surprised everyone. My junior sister kept boasting to everyone that the spirit snake was a treasure. With just a few elixirs, its cultivation level skyrocketed. Even her own cultivation jumped from Foundation Establishment's first stage to the third stage. Naturally, she couldn't resist gloating about it in front of me. Senior sister, sometimes the right choice outweighs sheer effort. You're the one who rejected the spirit snake and handed it to me on a silver platter. One day I'll surpass you and become the prodigy our master praises. My instincts screamed that something was wrong. In my past life, I squandered countless celestial treasures, yet it took the spirit serpent years to achieve human form. Now, in mere months, the serpent already shows faint signs of transformation aura. Olivia's lazy and gluttonous. She even mooches elixirs and secret realm resources from fellow disciples. There's no way she could aid the spirit serpent better than I did. Something's not right here. Before I could even speak, Olivia turned away smugly with her spirit serpent in tow. As she left, Olivia taunted me, "Senior sister, the sex beast taming tournament begins in 2 days. Instead of wasting energy envying me, you'd better figure out how that pathetic little raccoon of yours will survive the first round." I remained silent. The spirit serpent's glance held a glint of crimson in its gaze. "I'm feeling rather troubled. Olivia did get one thing right. With the Beastmaster tournament approaching, I must consider my little raccoon's future. This is a trial between sects. The victor shall be considered as a candidate for the next sect leader. Cultivators eliminated in the first round may face expulsion from their sect. Their contracted spirit beasts will consequently be reclaimed. I've heard they'll treat it as a common spirit beast, either sent to the fighting pits or the slaughterhouse. My master and fellow disciples cherish me. And the little lynx trusts me, no matter what. I can't let them down, though my cultivation is advanced. The lynx shows no signs of improvement. Stepping onto the arena like this would put the lynx's life in grave danger. With no other choice, I took on countless bounties just like in my past life, all to obtain that 1 in a million precious elixir at the auction for my little raccoon cub. Even if it couldn't enhance its cultivation, swallowing that pill might at least save its life. I became almost possessed, seeing nothing but the blood of demonic beasts and cultivators, my spiritual energy visibly draining away at alarming speed. Exhausted after retrieving the final elixir, I dragged myself back to my cave dwelling. The little raccoon cat perked up at the sound, trotting over with eager, row sounds as it affectionately rubbed against my shins. Wearily patting its head, I asked, "Did you have fun today, little one? Here's the elixir I brought back for you. Take it while it's fresh." With those final words, my last ounce of strength left me as I collapsed to the ground. In my dazed state, I faintly felt something wet, a tongue, licking my face repeatedly, while cold droplets kept falling like rain. "Is that the little raccoon?" I wondered hazily. When I woke again, the sect tournament had already begun. With no option to forfeit, I hastily made my way to the arena with my little raccoon companion. Disciples from other sects couldn't help whispering when they saw the small raccoon by my side. When Olivia first mentioned Sky had formed a contract with a raccoon, I didn't believe it. Now I see how foolish she's been. Who would have thought even the master of Celestial Spirits sect could misjudge someone? This guy would be lucky not to be dragged down by the little lynx. How could he possibly be a once-in-a-century genius? I still have higher hopes for Olivia. Rumor has it she's already broken through to the golden core stage. Some gloated while others sneered. The little lynx tensed up, curling tighter into my arms, gently stroking it with my hand. I kept soothing the little creature. "Don't be afraid, little raccoon. Big sister will keep you safe." Just before stepping on stage, my senior brother quietly pulled me aside and said, "Sky, our master made it clear. Even if you're not the once-in-a-generation talent of our sect, you'll always be his beloved disciple. Don't push yourself too hard. If it comes to it, just concede. Master will protect you." My nose stung with unshed tears. My fellow disciples all offered words of encouragement. Only Olivia stood by, never missing a chance to kick me when I was down. "Hang in there, senior sister Sky. That little raccoon dog you made a contract with. If it loses in the first round, rumor has it they'll send it to the butcher's shop for mortals to eat as cat meat." The spirit serpent slithered beside her, its sinister eyes gleaming with smug satisfaction. I raised my hand with a swift motion. Chapter 4, Crack. 4. The willow leaf severed Olivia's hair, leaving her utterly terrified. The spirit serpent shielded her protectively, coiling its body in readiness to strike. I warned her, "Olivia, some words are better left unsaid. The little raccoon may be slow in cultivation, but it's still under my wing. You're messing with the wrong person, even at its full power. The spirit serpent is no match for me." Under the crushing weight of my power, she finally offered a reluctant apology. The little raccoon curled up in my arms, peeking out to gently lick my hand. The arena battle will commence shortly. To everyone's astonishment, they soon realized their mistake. Conventional wisdom held that cultivators from the Celestial Spirit sect could only reach their full potential through perfect synergy with their spirit beasts, but I'm different. For those 9 years without my little raccoon companion, I relied solely on my innate talent and sheer strength to single-handedly push my cultivation to new heights, not to mention now, when my cultivation is on the verge of breaking through to the nascent soul stage. All my little raccoon needs to do is sit quietly at my feet and watch me battle. I cleared the first round with ease. Round 2, round 3, I personally eliminated Olivia and the spirit serpent. advancing to the final round. Seeing my opponent, I frowned. It was Flynn, the top disciple of the Venom sect, whose contracted spirit beast was a massive venomous spider. The Venom sect and the Celestial Order have always been at odds. Grinning at me, he said, "Sky, don't hold a grudge if my venomous spider happens to snack on your little kitten." Enough talk. I launched my attack without hesitation. The previous battles were all won against two fights that drained me of nearly all my stamina. Flynn moved like a ghost, coordinating perfectly with the venomous spider. In moments, I found myself completely entangled in a web that filled the air. I barely managed to shield the little raccoon, but the toxins seeped through the silk threads into my body, racking me with excruciating pain. My consciousness began to blur. Flynn loomed over me with a condescending glare, spewing obscenities. "You meddling bitch. If you hadn't interfered last year, Hazel would have been mine by now. You've made countless enemies over the years, thanks to your dear junior Olivia. She deliberately drained your stamina last round and gave me this potent poison. Otherwise, you'd have been a real handful to deal with." Hazel, the senior disciple of the Celestial Spirit sect, nearly fell victim to Flynn's scheme during our Secret Realm expedition last year. He almost robbed her of her virtue, after I thwarted his plans. Who'd have thought he'd nursed this grudge until now? Secretly colluding with Olivia to strike me down. This time, I'm truly done for. Blood began seeping from all my orifices as I gently stroked the little tabby in my arms, murmuring, "Little one, big sister can't protect you anymore." I plunged headfirst down. When I came to, I was gasping for air. My foul-smelling clothes were now clean and fresh, but a massive weight pressed down on me. Turning my head, I saw a strikingly handsome, burly man clinging to me like I was a gold coin. His limbs wrapped around me in a death grip. I protested weakly, "Get up." The man instantly became alert, his face lighting up with joy as he said, "Sis, you're awake." My hand paused midair as I asked in disbelief, "Your little raccoon?" If the man had a tail, it would have been wagging like a ship's propeller right then as he proudly declared, "That's right, sis, I'm your little raccoon." Without another word, she pulled me into her embrace, caressing my forehead with the same tenderness I'd shown when petting the little tabby. "Sis, you've been through so much. This is all my fault. I could only take human form at the last moment to save you. What would I ever do without you?" His account helped me piece together the whole story. The little raccoon had suffered severe injuries, lost its memory, had its cultivation sealed, and was abandoned in the mortal realm where our master found it. My constant feeding of spirit stones and elixirs showed no effect because the raccoon's cultivation far surpassed mine. Restoring its power and human form would naturally require massive resources. After Flynn's ambush, the contract between Little Raccoon and me was severely damaged. Its survival instincts forcibly broke the seals, transforming into human form to save me at the last moment. The man nuzzled his face against mine eagerly and said, "Big sis. Don't call me Little Raccoon anymore. Call me Luca from now on. I'll protect you with everything I've got." I nodded, then asked hesitantly, "So, what finally happened to Flynn?" Luca dodged the question. "In the end, I learned the truth from Senior Brother Zay. Flynn's meridians were shattered, and the venomous spider lost its toxicity, becoming nothing more than a common creature." As for Olivia, who conspired with Flynn, her malicious schemes and betrayal of fellow disciples earned her a water torture punishment from our master, followed by confinement. As I was leaving, Senior Brother couldn't help but sigh. "Both our master and I misjudged. That was no ordinary little raccoon you were raising. Such presence, such power, utterly extraordinary. As for that spirit serpent, despite its noble lineage, its performance was thoroughly unremarkable. Sky, the heavens haven't failed you after all." Chapter 5. I merely smiled. After seeing my senior brother off, I ran into the spirit serpent at the gate, the one supposedly under confinement. 5. I frowned. "What are you doing here?" The spirit serpent blocked my path, its jet black eyes fixed on me before suddenly speaking in human tongue. "Sky, why didn't you choose me back then?" I was taken aback. But then again, if even a little raccoon can hide its true power, what's so strange about a spirit snake speaking human tongue ahead of time? In this second life, too many things have spiraled beyond control, so I fired back immediately. "Wasn't it you who insisted on making that contract with Olivia?" "What, now you're blaming me instead?" Remorse flickered in the serpent's eyes. It murmured to itself, "When I was young, a butcher nearly killed me. Olivia saved my life. I owe her my very existence. but with my azure dragon lineage. I realized after forming our pact, her power pales in comparison. Only you, the once-in-a-century cultivation prodigy hailed by the celestial sect's master, are worthy of me. Sky, break your contract with that useless fool immediately and become my master. I'll help you unleash your true potential. Before I could speak, Luca emerged from the cave dwelling and unleashed searing flames with a raised hand, forcing the spirit serpent into retreat. His expression turned icy as he warned, "Stay away from my master. Where were you when she was struggling? Now that she's successful, you have the nerve to come crawling back. Get lost." Then she draped her arm over my shoulder with fake sobs, whining, "Sis, look at how he's treating me." The theatrics were obvious, but I'm a sucker for this act. I turned to Spirit Snake with a dismissal, saying bluntly, "Instead of scheming to poach my people, you'd better focus on how to actually improve Olivia's skills. One more mistake, and the master won't spare you. You're on your own now." Chapter 6. Spirit Snake left with visible resentment, muttering, "You'll regret this." 6. Luca's pestering me again, insisting on soaking in the spirit spring. A sudden realization struck me, all the clues connected, and the words spilled out. "So that time I stripped naked in the spirit spring, it wasn't the raccoon's consciousness but yours." Luca froze, then turned to leave. I channeled my spiritual energy into a slap and aimed straight for the back of his head. My furious roar echoed through the cavern, "Stay away from me, you perverted cat." Luca's arena battle proved he was no ordinary being. The entire sect placed great expectations on both of us. Our master even opened his private treasury, showering us with endless celestial treasures to aid our cultivation. By day, I meditated in the spirit spring while Luca devoured elixirs and snacks like they were wild jujubes, tossing them into his mouth without a care. At night, Luca would persistently climb into my bed despite repeated banishments, wrapping me in his arms like an inescapable cocoon. I missed that petite little tabby cat terribly. The only time Luca reverts to being a little tanuki is when he messes up and is about to get scolded, giving me the rare treat of petting him. These past few days, the question he's asked me most often is, "Sis, do you really love me? Or just the tanuki I transform into?" I dodged the question with vague answers. Luca sobbed, "Sis, you heartbreaker, why do you want to have your cake and eat it too?" Yet moments later, he came crawling back with puppy dog eyes, nuzzling into my arms while mumbling, "Fine, I'll take you as you are, even if you're a player, as long as it's me you love. Sister, that's all that matters." In stark contrast was the relationship between junior disciple Olivia and the spirit snake. After their confinement ended, Olivia and the spirit snake's bond shattered completely. Her roommate confided to me that the spirit snake now bore numerous knife scars, and violent shouting matches frequently echoed from their quarters. The words I heard most often were "useless" and "good for nothing," yet the more this happened, the more frequently the spirit serpent would ambush me outside my cave. It even brought me elixirs sometimes. I couldn't make sense of it. In my past life, I laid the world's most precious treasures at his feet, only to be met with scorn and contempt. He even conspired with outsiders to send me to an early grave. Now that I have Luca, he suddenly appears before me with this pitiful, lovesick act. Is he just that pathetic? The serpent's antics completely enraged Olivia, turning her against me as well. Their snide remarks and verbal abuse were the least of it. Behind my back, they spread vile rumors about an improper relationship between me and our master. The sect elders could no longer stay silent. My senior brother took the initiative to propose expelling Ling Shi and Olivia from the sect. Sky has always been kind to others unless provoked, yet Olivia repeatedly slandered Sky's reputation, bringing disgrace to our sect. No matter how advanced one's cultivation may be, such actions violate the core principles of the Celestial Spirit sect. We implore the Master to expel her from the sect. The Master agreed without hesitation, though a cultivator. He still carried a torch for someone special. At his age, not only was he burdened with the sect's trivial affairs daily, but his reputation was also being slandered. No wonder he was fuming. Sadly, even when facing expulsion, Olivia remained oblivious to her faults, casting covetous eyes upon Luca instead. "Senior sister, I regret everything. I know I'm not as gifted as you. I can't handle the spirit serpent. Please, just give me back my little tabby." Before I could speak, Luca's eyes widened. "How could anyone be this shameless? In life I'm yours, both the girl and the cat. In death I'll still haunt you as your ghost. You crazy bitch, Get away from me. The viper's venomous gaze fell upon me, but was blocked by Luca. And you lunatic bastard, pack your shit and get lost. Both of you, don't you dare offend my sister's sight. Luca didn't relax until the two were out of sight. Chapter 7, Sis. This world's full of bad people. I'm the only one truly loyal to you. 7. I patted his head. The man instantly got excited, his brawny arms scooping me up bridal style as he happily carried me back to our cave to resume cultivation. A day in the mountains is a century in the mortal world. The sect completely lost track of Olivia and the spirit serpent after they descended the mountain. The Grand Master said they couldn't possibly cause any real trouble, yet I remain wary of them. The serpent's transformation into human form took far fewer years than in my past life. Something's definitely fishy about this. Moreover, Olivia has been confined to the sect all these years. Where did she obtain such potent poison to collude with Flynn against me? Finally, as I reached the peak of the nascent soul stage, on the verge of breaking through to deity transformation, my vigilance hit its maximum. In my previous life, it was right after overcoming the heavenly tribulation during my deity transformation breakthrough that Olivia and the serpent ambushed me. In this life, I remain vigilant, having long since erected protective barriers. The air around me shreds into wisps of mist as the sky darkens, faint streaks of light piercing through. I know my heavenly tribulation has arrived. Luca stands guard for me. Before leaving, he pressed a lingering kiss on my forehead and whispered, "Sister, I'll await your safe return." I watched his retreating figure, gathering my resolve as I channeled spiritual energy through my body. 49 heavenly thunderbolts descended in succession, the first strike, the second strike, the third strike, the 48th strike. My spiritual energy was nearly depleted, mustering the last remnants of strength to withstand the 49th heavenly tribulation. At that very moment, the ground began to tremble. In an instant, the barrier shattered into glimmering fragments as the spirit serpent materialized before me. It was neither in serpent form nor human shape. Instead, it had transformed into a majestic azure dragon. The coiling dragon flickered amidst thunderbolts, its serpentine form entwined with Luca's body. Soon, Luca found himself at a disadvantage. The divine serpent forced him back to his true form, crushed beneath dragon claws with shattered organs and blood gushing from his mouth. "Sister, I'm sorry. I failed to protect you." The serpent's spirit let out a mocking laugh. Under my furious gaze, it tossed Luca aside and strode straight toward me. An overwhelming aura of power blanketed the area, laced with a sinister trace of demonic energy. Suddenly, it all made sense. Serpent spirit, you fell to demonhood long ago. No wonder the spirit serpent achieved human form much earlier this lifetime. Demonic cultivation accelerates progress compared to orthodox methods. But a single misstep could lead to catastrophic bodily explosion. Olivia used to preen herself, believing her natural talent required minimal elixirs to nurture the spirit serpent. Little did they know, they were nurturing a viper in their bosom. Chapter 12. The serpent let out a maniacal laugh upon hearing this. Laughter mingled with the howling storm and thunder. Sounding muffled and indistinct, he said, "Sky, you forced my hand. Had you listened to me back then, broken that worthless contract and sworn allegiance to me, you might still be clinging to life today. Pity, you won't get that chance. This nascent soul cultivation shall be mine now." Chapter 8. I calmly watched the descending 49th heavenly tribulation lightning and asked, "Where's Olivia?" 8. The spirit serpent replied with utter disdain, "That foolish woman. I devoured her the moment she was expelled from the sect." Closing my eyes with a bitter sense of shared tragedy, I murmured, "Didn't you say Olivia once saved your life?" The serpent sneered, "So what? No matter how hard she tries, she'll never possess even a fraction of your natural talent. Letting her linger this long was mercy enough. At least her death wasn't wasted. Her core belongs to me now." The serpent pressed its palm against my crown, leaning close to whisper like a viper's hiss, "Now your cultivation shall be mine too." The 49th heavenly thunder strikes. My power was being continuously drained, flowing into the spirit serpent's body. At that moment, my consciousness began to waver. I witnessed the spirit serpent's memories. Centuries ago, a blue serpent mated with a dragon and laid an egg, which hatched into a spirit serpent. It scorned its serpent kin yet could never gain acceptance among the dragons, who prized pure bloodlines. After being banished from his father's domain, he vowed to make the world acknowledge him, and pay for his past humiliation. Thus, he incited the demon clans to launch an assault on the mortal realm. Glaciers, deserts, cities. It was the unseen force behind it all, until I saw a dust-covered little girl in his memories. That was my childhood self. It incited the orc tribe to slaughter my hometown and murder my parents, but it paid the price for its deeds. Betrayed by the orc chieftain and stripped of its powers, it was taken back by my master, eventually becoming Olivia's contracted spirit beast through a twist of fate. Suddenly, everything made sense. In my past life, no matter what I did in the end, it would always strip me of my cultivation, because its sole purpose from beginning to end was exploitation. This applied equally to me and to Olivia. Sky, your lifetime cultivation at the nascent soul stage won't be wasted on me. I'll erect a monument in your memory. Future generations shall remember me as the mighty azure dragon, while you shall be remembered for your modest contribution to my ascension to godhood. Be grateful for this honor. As the blinding light erupted, the spirit serpent stared at me in astonishment. I'm laughing. The poison-drenched sword in my hand pierced his chest with my last shred of spiritual energy. Another blade then struck from behind, piercing his dantian. It was Luca, wiping blood from his lips. He mercilessly shattered the spirit serpent's dantian with a single thrust. Then he kicked it down to the ground with one foot. You want godhood but won't train properly, resorting to these crooked methods instead. Dare you even think of sacrificing my sister? Keep dreaming in broad daylight. The serpent stared at Luca in disbelief. How, you were just... Luca held me protectively and snapped. Sis calls me little raccoon. You actually think I'm a house cat. My true form is a white tiger. How could the white tiger, one of the 4 divine beasts who ranks equal to your father, possibly lose to you? Get it? Hiss. So by that logic, my true identity is your father. Torrential rain poured from the sky, washing away the bloodstains covering the ground. The spirit serpent laughed wildly at the heavens, tears mingling with the rain as it uttered a sorrowful accusation. God, do you really look down on me just because of my background? Why, I was so close to becoming a true azure dragon. Why won't you let me achieve it? Is it simply because my bloodline isn't pure enough? Luca covered my ears in disgust. But his words rang crystal clear in my mind. What does bloodline have to do with this? Isn't it just about character? You neglect proper cultivation, take crooked paths, descend into demonhood, bring chaos to the world, and then complain about heaven being unfair. Seriously, you actually think after slaughtering someone's entire family, they'd still call you Lord Azure Dragon? Let me give you 4 words. Are you okay? The spirit serpent choked and couldn't catch its breath, ultimately perishing with unfulfilled regrets. Meanwhile, I weathered the lightning tribulation and successfully ascended to the deity transformation stage. A century later, the master abdicated his position. From beginning to end, he never broke through the void-crossing realm. Resigned to his fate, he passed the sect leadership to his senior brother and wandered the world with his fellow cultivator, the unattainable love of his life. A millennium later, 81 divine thunderbolts descended upon me. I successfully transcended mortality, becoming the first disciple of the immortal spirit sect to ascend to divinity, gaining eternal life alongside heaven and earth. The immortal spirit sect instantly rose to become the foremost sect in the mortal realm. Yet unlike my predecessors, I did not ascend to immortality alone. Luca clung to me desperately, cutting off my escape with honeyed words before I could even struggle. Sis, you promised, even if you become immortal, you won't abandon me. In life I'm yours. In death I'll haunt you. Well, alright then. Story 2. My roommate is a proponent of the slow life, emphasizing elegance and enjoyment. When the apocalyptic era of high temperatures arrived, she still watered the flowers and made tea every day, enjoying the food I had scavenged and the cool air from the air conditioner maintained by my supernatural ability. She vigorously promoted the idea that, even in the apocalypse, one should pay attention to life and slow down the pace. When I went out hunting and was on the verge of death due to the exhaustion of my supernatural power, I sent her a text message asking for help. However, she replied that it was because I was moving too fast that I had accelerated my own death. Before the apocalypse broke out again, I directly moved next door. This time, I want to see how she meets her slow death. 1. It has been a week since I was reborn. I have purchased all the things I need for the apocalypse and am walking on the road under a high temperature of 45 degrees Celsius. It's still a bit cooler at night. During the day, the temperature usually exceeds 50 degrees Celsius. There is only 1 day left before the apocalypse breaks out. In the past few days, there have been fewer and fewer pedestrians on the road. Everyone has keenly sensed something and stayed indoors. In a few more days, The ground surface temperature will rise to a terrifying 70 degrees Celsius, making it no longer suitable for human survival. I walked quickly into the unit building. The shadow of being literally roasted to death by the high temperature in my previous life has faded a bit. Before I even entered the house, I heard the sound of my roommate Paige's live broadcast. Why should we go out in the high temperature? It's a meaningless thing. We are born to serve ourselves. Technology is advancing. But we must slow down our pace. We can't just keep moving forward blindly. It's more important to pay attention to the scenery along the way. My roommate is an impatient person. She is busy all day long and has no time to take good care of herself. She is already in her 20s and has never been in a relationship. It's useless to run too fast. One should slow down and enjoy life. Before I left, I emphasized to Paige that the voltage had been unstable recently and that it would be fine to set the air conditioner at 26 degrees Celsius. However, she not only set the air conditioner to 16 degrees Celsius but also turned on the TV, the computer, and placed 2 mobile phones for the live broadcast. Paige was wearing a light pink home dress. The smooth silk fabric clung to her body, outlining her perfect figure. More and more male fans were coming to watch her live broadcast. I took a glance at the bullet comments in the live broadcast room and frowned in disgust at some of the flirtatious remarks on it. I was sweating all over, while Paige was dry and fresh. She even pretended to fan herself with her hands. Natalia, why are you all sweaty? If you keep your mind calm, you will naturally feel cool. You are just too impetuous, she muttered with a pout. I snorted mercilessly. It's 45 degrees Celsius outside. Why don't you go to work and see for yourself? Paige doesn't like going to work. She says that working is torture and that she has no time to enjoy life. She has been enjoying the environment at home that I worked so hard to earn money for. The weather has been getting hotter recently. Since it's not suitable to go out, let's enjoy a slow life at home and give our souls a break. I sneered. Give our souls a break. If everyone stops working, can you still enjoy life at home so comfortably? Paige also said the same thing to me in my previous life. She even forced me to stay at home and wouldn't let me go to work. It wasn't that she was worried about me getting heatstroke, but that she wanted to drag me to do the live broadcast with her. Most of her fans are middle-aged men. Once a male fan told her that my figure was also good, so she got the idea of dragging me into the live broadcast. On the surface, she wanted to take me to relax and experience a slow life. In fact, it was to satisfy the voyeuristic and lecherous psychology of her male fans, allowing them to spy on me and then reward her with gifts. I accompanied her for the live broadcast for 3 days. Even when the community issued a notice for everyone to store supplies, I was dragged by her to water the flowers and missed the opportunity to store supplies. As a result, I had to go out hunting in the high temperature of 60 to 70 degrees Celsius and was finally roasted to death by the heat. At this moment, Paige looked disapproving. Work is not the whole of life. I suggest that everyone set aside 5 or 6 months each year to go on trips and relax, slow down their pace. There are actually surprises everywhere in life. I went back to my room to pack things and take stock of my valuables. Large valuable items such as the laptop and the single-lens reflex camera were all there. But the necklace left to me by my mother was missing. That necklace was made of thunderstruck wood. Before my mother entered the operating room, she repeatedly told me not to lose the necklace. In my previous life, I awakened a thunder elemental supernatural ability, and I suspect that it has something to do with the necklace left by my mother. But now the necklace is gone. I definitely didn't touch the box where the necklace was placed, so it can only be that Paige moved my necklace. Paige, did you touch the things in my room? What? Oh, you mean that ugly necklace? Paige shrugged innocently. I accidentally knocked over that box when I went to your room to get the computer last time. The necklace was so ugly that I thought it was some kind of garbage. Just then, a fan in my live broadcast room liked it, so I gave it to him. Paige got up carelessly to water the flowers and mumbled, "Everyone shouldn't be like my roommate and value material possessions so much. We should focus on cultivating our character. We should read books and admire flowers on weekdays. Remember not to be impetuous." As soon as she finished speaking, the lights in the room flickered a few times and went out with a snap. The air conditioner and various home appliances stopped working. I stood in the shadow with an unreadable expression. Paige, since you think I'm impetuous, there's no need for us to live together anymore. I'm moving out today. You can take care of all the expenses in the future, too. Paige is the child that my mother risked her life to save. Paige was playing in the middle of the road, and a runaway truck was heading straight for her. If it weren't for my mother sacrificing herself to save her, she would have died long ago. Before my mother died, she told me that Paige was an orphan and that from then on, she would be my sister and I should take good care of her. I have taken care of her for more than 10 years. Paige has eaten and drunk at my expense and lived in the house I rented. From time to time, she threatened me with the words my mother said before she died. Obviously, my family is her savior, but she has always had a superior attitude. Hearing that I was going to move out, Paige didn't stop watering the flowers at all. You can move out, but give me 500,000 yuan, and I'll agree. These words made me so angry that I laughed. 500,000 yuan, why? How much money have I spent on you over the years? You eat, drink, and have fun at home on my money. It's already good that I'm not asking you to pay me back, but you can earn money all because of me, right? I'm so famous online. If it weren't for me, how could the company have hired you? You're just a secondary vocational school graduate. Paige pouted, put down the watering can, and started complaining. Really, I told you to find someone to repair the circuit earlier, but you didn't listen. Now look, the power is out at home. And it's all your fault. All the old grudges piled up in my mind at once, making me furious. I paused the voice recording on my phone, groped my way into the kitchen in the dark, and took out the fruit knife that I had sharpened a couple of days ago. Paige's physique was obviously not as good as mine. I easily pinned her down, and the sharp blade was only a few centimeters away from her neck. Natalia, what are you doing? This is illegal. Yes, I know. If you don't tell me where you put my necklace, I'll kill you right now. My words were just to scare her. In fact, the moment I touched the knife handle, I became sober, but for someone as ungrateful as her, threats are always more effective than persuasion. The blade moved closer, and Paige was so scared that she kept shivering. Finally, she spoke cautiously. That fan said his name is Levi, and he also lives in our community. You can go and find him yourself. I put away the knife and released her, and began to calculate how long it would take to find Levi. As soon as she was released, Paige picked up her phone and was about to call the police. You attempted murder. I'm going to call the police and arrest you. Go ahead and call, I said indifferently. You have no evidence and no wounds. If you want to call the police, then go ahead. But when you extorted 500,000 yuan from me before, I recorded it. I shook my phone, picked up my things, and left the house. The most urgent thing now is to find the necklace left to me by my mother. My phone kept vibrating in my pocket. I thought it was Paige calling to scold me, but the note on the phone was landlord. The landlord I rented from was surnamed Wen, and the note was his full name. This note could only be the landlord next door. I was going to move next door to see how Paige would gradually move towards death in her slow life. The landlord was a very young man. It was said that he was also in the community committee. I urgently asked him if he could find out Levi's address. The other side was very surprised. I'm Levi, may I ask what you need? I didn't expect that this landlord whom I had never met before was the person I was looking for. Tomorrow, the apocalyptic high-temperature era will arrive, and it will also be the moment when most humans awaken their supernatural abilities. I must meet him tonight. I explained the matter of the necklace to him, and then, using the excuse that I found a water pipe leak when inspecting the house, I asked him to come and deal with it while bringing the necklace. Levi came very quickly. When we met, I realized that I had actually met him a few times before. In order to take care of Paige, I gave up the opportunity to go to high school and went to the same vocational high school as her. Levi was from the class next door, but no one has ever known what subject that class taught, so this necklace is yours. I thought my opportunity had come. Levi smiled and handed the necklace over. This is a good thing, keep it safe. While we were talking, Paige suddenly opened the door and walked into the corridor. Levi, it really is you. Paige's tone was very familiar, as if Levi was an old acquaintance of hers. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I really didn't expect you to watch my live broadcast. But Levi had a confused expression. Who are you? It dawned on me later that Paige had always had a crush on a boy from the class next door when she was at school. Could it be Levi? I'm your high school classmate. We even participated in the same social gathering. Paige shyly twirled the hair by her ear. I had an impression of that social gathering. At that gathering, Paige forcefully exchanged the truth or dare card in my hand and, together with others, forced me to go out and kiss the first boy I met. I didn't even see the boy's face clearly before I was forced to press my head down by several hands. Fortunately, I only touched the boy's chin, and thankfully, I didn't kiss him on the mouth. A social gathering. Levi's face turned ugly. Is that the one where you guys egged someone on to go out and forcefully kiss others? The smile on Paige's face froze, and her voice became softer. That was the card she drew herself. I told her not to be so impulsive and to take it slow. Maybe it could have been a good marriage. She was the one who rushed out in a hurry. Paige pointed at me. I grabbed her finger and bent it forcefully. I rushed out in a hurry. Then may I ask who exchanged my card and urged others to push me out the door. Amid Paige's cries of pain, the corridor was plunged into complete darkness. I instinctively looked towards the window at the end of the corridor. There was not a single ray of light outside. The moon had disappeared, and the surrounding air was getting hotter and hotter, as if it was boiling and swallowing up everyone who was still lingering outside. Damn it, get back inside quickly. I let go of Paige's hand, opened the door, and pushed Levi in as well. The apocalyptic high-temperature era had arrived. 3. Levi was pushed into the room by me in a confused state and stared speechlessly at the numerous large freezers in the room. The temperature of his body gradually rose, which was a precursor to the awakening of his supernatural ability, so I jokingly patted the large freezer in front of me. Handsome guy, you're so hot, do you want to go in and cool off? Levi smiled bitterly. I'm afraid I'll blow it up with my heat. Obviously, he had noticed the changes in his body. In fact, my condition wasn't much better than his. My extremely high body temperature made my head dizzy, and I could only manage to move to the sofa and lie down with my last bit of clarity. This is a large apartment of 150 square meters. Except for a bed and a sofa, the rest of the place is piled up with freezers. This is what I have been preparing since I was reborn, because I am a thunder elemental supernatural ability user. I can generate electricity on my own and support the operation of these freezers. Levi's condition was a bit better than mine. After hesitating for a moment, he finally walked up to me, bent down, and carried me towards the bedroom. It's not comfortable on the sofa. I'll take you to the bedroom. I originally wanted him to put me down. Where couldn't I stay? But I didn't expect that my body was completely out of control now. After I propped myself up, I directly fell towards his side. Levi was tilting his head to talk to me and couldn't avoid it in time. My dry and chapped lips brushed against the corner of his mouth. And then I buried myself in his neck. In a trance, I seemed to hear Levi's helpless laughter. Didn't manage to kiss me back then, but now you're making up for it. My consciousness fell into a complete darkness. When I woke up again, it was already the next day. I had thought that the room would be as hot as a furnace. After all, when the apocalyptic high-temperature era first broke out, the outdoor temperature was as high as 100 degrees Celsius, and this situation would last for 3 days. But the room was chilly, and there were several ice cubes packed in plastic bags next to me. You're awake. It's a bit earlier than I expected. Levi was holding a glass of water, and there were a few ice cubes floating in the water. I stared straight at the glass in his hand. He seemed to realize something, opened the window, put the glass outside for a few seconds, and then brought it back in. People who have just woken up aren't suitable for drinking ice water. I took the glass of water, and the temperature was just right. The thunder elemental supernatural power was surging inside me. I got up and patted the freezers one by one, and then patted the air conditioner. With the support of electricity, the whole house became cool. Levi clicked his tongue in surprise. You have a thunder elemental supernatural ability. I have an ice elemental one. It seems that neither of us will be roasted to death by the high temperature. Not only that, but our food and water sources can also be basically guaranteed. I couldn't help but want to laugh. I knew that there was an ice elemental supernatural ability user in the community. The original plan was to establish a cooperative relationship with the ice elemental supernatural ability user using the food at home to facilitate my going out hunting or getting water. I couldn't store too much water at home, so I spent a lot of money buying an underground warehouse to store water. The problem was that it was inconvenient to go out and get the water. Now that the water source problem has been solved, everything in this life has been going so smoothly. By the way, your neighbor came by when you were still asleep, but since you weren't awake, I didn't open the door for her. After all, this is your home now, and I can't open the door without permission. I learned from Levi that Paige had knocked on the door vigorously when the power was just cut off, asking me to go and repair the circuit for her. When the apocalyptic high-temperature era first broke out, the power happened to come back on. Paige survived the hottest period by running the air conditioner at full blast, but now the power was cut off again. after a while, electricity would become something that cost a lot of money to buy. The maintenance cost was too high. And there was no way not to charge more. At that time, without money and without my help, could Phoebe still live her slow life as comfortably as she did in her previous life? I had just finished drinking the water in the cup when the door was knocked again. Natalia, what kind of crappy house did you buy? The power goes out every now and then. Hurry up and find someone to fix it. Paige kept pounding on the door. I leaned against the door panel and sipped the ice water prepared by Levi. A crappy house. If you don't want to live here, get out. Didn't you always say that if you keep your mind calm, you'll naturally feel cool? Why are you so impatient? Is that the same thing? The temperature is at least 60 or 70 degrees now. Without an air conditioner, people will be roasted to death. I put down the cup. Levi opposite me looked a bit pitying, but he didn't say anything. If there's no electricity, you can pay someone to fix it yourself. Why are you coming to me? Then give me 500,000 yuan. How can I find someone if you don't give me the money? Paige's voice was shrill, as if she was on the verge of breaking down. Natalia, your mother told you to take good care of me before she died. Are you going to ignore your mother's words? Paige is always like this. Once I don't want to give her something, she will use the words my mother said before her death as a threat. Over the years, I've always tried to convince myself that since I don't have a mother anymore, I can't afford to lose Paige as my family member either. But she only sees me as an ATM and doesn't consider me as a family member at all. In her eyes, I'm not even a person. Special circumstances call for special treatment. If you die, I'll take good care of you as my mother said and take care of your remains. No matter how much Paige knocked on the door or hurled insults, I didn't open the door. Levi just listened in silence opposite me. Finally, he raised his hand and stroked my head. Only after Paige left did I slide down the door panel as if I had lost all my strength and slowly told Levi about my past with Paige. After hearing my story, Levi had no expression on his face, but he took my hand and squeezed it gently. Let's have dinner first. He has good cooking skills and can make even the simplest home-cooked dishes very delicious, although there are power outages everywhere now. The network hasn't been affected much. There are all kinds of messages constantly popping up in the community owner group, all asking for supplies and assistance. Paige also sent a few help-seeking messages. When I lived with her, I was always the one to fill the refrigerator at home. Even if I bought food and put it in the kitchen, Paige was too lazy to put it in the refrigerator. In her words, the slow life is also a low-energy consumption life, and there's no need to eat too much. 3 meals a day, a little vegetable salad is enough, so for the meat I bought, she just left it on the table. Anyway, I would put it in the refrigerator when I got home. Even if she didn't do it, someone else would. This time is the same. I clearly bought food and put it in the kitchen, but she didn't put it in the refrigerator. She didn't take the opportunity when it was given to her. Now the food is probably already spoiled under the high temperature. And she has nothing to eat even if she wants to. 304. Paige, does anyone have food at home? The owner upstairs quickly replied to her, I do. What are you going to exchange for it? Paige's answer was full of righteousness. You just give it to me. Why do we need to exchange? The owner upstairs didn't reply to her anymore but made a deal with someone else. Paige kept pestering that owner. What do you mean? You have food but don't share it with me. Then why did you reply to me? Is it fun? I was eating ice cream and joined the conversation with great interest. I have food and can provide it to you for free, but those who eat my food will have to go out with me to find available resources in the future. The people who replied to me instantly buried Paige's message. It wasn't until Paige kept spamming and slandering me that others couldn't stand it anymore and started scolding her. Some even carried a boning knife and came to the door of room 304, without saying a word. They slashed a few times. Paige screamed in the room, You're so nagging, you have nothing but act arrogantly. Who do you think you are? After scolding, that man knocked on my door. Hello, I'm your neighbor downstairs. Can I get the food you mentioned in the group? I opened the door, and the cold air rushed out instantly. The burly man standing outside the door, as soon as he was hit by the cold air, immediately showed a lecherous expression on his face. Wait a moment, I'll go get it. There was a partition in the entrance hall, so I wasn't afraid of him seeing the situation inside the room, but as soon as I turned around, the man showed a greedy expression. He raised the boning knife in his hand and was about to slash at me. Without looking back, I said, Put away those thoughts you shouldn't have. You should understand. A sharp ice pick appeared under his neck. Levi had a cold expression. and the aura around him was icy cold. I have the courage to let you come and get the food, so I must have the ability to suppress your riot. The man threw away the boning knife in his hand and smiled sheepishly. I casually threw him a bottle of water and 2 pieces of bread and closed the door. After I closed the door, there was another sound of the door opening. Paige appeared in the corridor and pulled the man to whisper something to him. Then the man followed her into the room. I took out my phone and opened the monitoring software on the desktop. In order to prevent Paige from causing trouble at home, especially from touching the things in my room without permission, I installed a hidden monitor in my bedroom. The monitor hidden on the curtain rod showed the scene in the living room completely in front of my eyes. That man was on top of Paige, moving up and down. I immediately closed the software. It was only after the sound of the door opening ring out again that I opened the software to check on Paige's situation. She was kneeling on the ground, wolfing down the bread. The things in the room were smashed to pieces by her, and there were fragments all over the floor. After eating her fill, Paige set up her phone and started a live broadcast again. I was eating the durian meat I found in the freezer, curled up on the sofa and watching Paige's live broadcast with Levi. Even now, she is still promoting her slow life theory. This is an opportunity given to us by heaven. The temperature outside is so high, since we don't go out, we can just live a good life at home. The smile on Paige's face was much more forced than before, but she held on and watered the flowers with the remaining half bottle of water. The flowers had already been dried up by the high temperature. I don't know why she was still bothering to water them. Today's theme is still to relax our body and mind while watering and admiring the flowers. This time, the fans in her live broadcast room didn't buy it. Are you crazy? How precious the water resources are now. She's watering that dead flower. Exactly. How much water is in her head to water the flowers at this time and still talk about relaxing the body and mind? People are about to die, and she's still talking about relaxation. If she wants to be slow, let her be slow by herself, anyway. I'm going out for an adventure. There were constant in the live broadcast room, and Paige turned off the live broadcast with a pale face. I switched to the monitoring software to see what she would do next. Levi, which flavor of ice cream do you like? Strawberry or mango? Levi smiled gently. Mango, I guess. What flavor do you want? I'll get it for you. Get me a durian-flavored one, thanks. I bit into the ice cream bar that Levi handed me. In the monitoring screen, Paige was angrily smashing the vase that she used to cherish so much. After eating the last bite of the ice cream bar, Levi changed into some protective clothes and stood at the door waiting for me. Let's go. I clapped my hands and walked out the door with him. In the apocalyptic era of high temperatures, it's not feasible to just sit at home and wait for death. We must find a stable water source and food source. It's also strange that this high temperature seems to only affect humans. The wild plants and animals outside haven't been affected. Levi and I went out and explored for a while. The surrounding malls had already been ransacked, and there were people who had been roasted to death everywhere on the road. According to the current temperature, it won't take long for the bodies to turn into skeletons. When we got home, there were 2 more men's corpses at the door. Levi turned his head away. I said in a flat tone, "In the apocalypse, the thing you can least trust is human nature." One of the men lying on the ground was exactly the one who had taken food from me before. I had known that someone would come to steal things while we were out, so I had long ago used my supernatural ability to set up an electric grid on the door, killing the chicken to scare the monkeys. With these 2 as examples, the other people in the community didn't dare to act recklessly. Fortunately, there are only a few buildings in this community, and there are relatively few people. Plus, a group of people couldn't survive the high temperature, so there aren't many people left with the strength and courage to go out for adventures. Levi and I stayed at home, comfortably enjoying the air conditioning and having meals. Levi's cooking skills are much better than mine. His coconut chicken hot pot is really excellent. Being able to enjoy a coconut chicken hot pot while having the air conditioning on in the apocalyptic era of high temperatures is something that others can't even dream of. I calculated the time, and it's also time to vigorously collect the rent. I opened the monitoring software again. Paige was already so hungry that she started eating her flowers. She even planned to roast the rotten meat in the kitchen outside with the high temperature and then eat it. I used to have the habit of putting snacks in the room. Paige always laughed at me for being a glutton and eating ravenously. She even live broadcasted her meals. There would be a bowl of plain porridge and a small dish of pickles on the table, and she would take an hour to finish eating. Now Paige was lying on the floor of my room, even swallowing the biscuits that I didn't know when had fallen under the table. After such a commotion, Paige was already sweating all over. Now that water resources are in short supply, the water stored at home has been wasted by her when she was living her slow life and watering the flowers. Paige can't even take a shower now. Her hair is so oily that it sticks tightly to her scalp, and she looks extremely slovenly. The temperature outside is indeed getting higher and higher. It's generally 80 or 90 degrees at noon. I snapped my fingers, increased the output of my supernatural power, and then turned up the temperature of the air conditioner. Paige is also looking for the air conditioner remote control. Today, the air conditioner is working normally. When the cold air blows out, Paige takes off the last piece of clothing on her body. This time I didn't close the software because I knew that the air conditioner would soon lose power, and that man would also come to the door. Sure enough, the air conditioner stopped working after a while. The sound of footsteps gradually approached. The man with a scar running across his face punched the door. Those inside, pay the rent. If you don't open the door, I'll go in directly. Kane wiped the sweat off his forehead. The temperature inside the building wasn't much better than outside. In the short time he was pounding on the door, he was already so hot that he was sticking out his tongue and panting. He took out the key and opened the door. As our landlord, Landon naturally has a spare key. Since Kane came in person, he must have prepared it. Paige let out a scream. She was disheveled and smelled of sweat, the complete opposite of the elegant person she was during the live broadcast. From the monitor, I could clearly see Kane frowning and covering his nose while constantly fanning the air. Hurry up and ask the person living with you to pay the money. You have to pay the rent for the past 6 months. A total of 620,000 yuan. I want it in cash. Paige's face turned pale instantly. 620,000 yuan. Why don't you just rob a bank? Kane was impatient. It's just 620,000 yuan. If you don't pay, get out and bake in the sun. Paige gritted her teeth and raised her finger to point at the house where I was staying now. Natalia is next door. Go and ask her for the money. So troublesome, you bitch. Kane spat and came to my door. Hey, pay the rent you owe, or I'll kill you. Levi was preparing the cherry pudding I wanted to eat. Hearing this, he looked at me with his eyes, asking if I wanted to deal with the person outside the door. I patted his shoulder to signal him to be patient and walked to the door myself, leaning against the door panel. I'm sorry, I don't live in that house anymore. You can go and find Paige. When renting the house, Paige was so afraid that I would leave her behind after renting the house that she signed her name without even looking at what the contract said. I'm afraid she thought I was buying a house, and whoever signed the name would own it. Paige looked at Kane pitifully. After all, they had a past relationship. Kane was still shouting in front of my door. Damn it, I'm asking you for the money. Hurry up and get out here. He suddenly punched the door and was electrocuted by the surging current, falling to the ground and twitching. I controlled the output of my supernatural power. This electric shock was just a lesson for him. Although it hurt, it wasn't fatal. You can try to kill me if you want. If you have the guts, come in. If you can kill me, then do it. It took Kane a long time to get up from the ground. He blamed Paige for getting electrocuted. If it weren't for this woman's instigation, would he have been electrocuted? Paige still didn't know that she had angered Kane and was standing in the room, muttering in a low voice. Are you capable? You can't even open a door. Kane sneered. If you think you're so capable, you go and open it. He grabbed Paige's hair and pushed her against the door. Screams rang out throughout the corridor. I deliberately held back because I was afraid that Paige would be electrocuted to death directly. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't even be able to make a sound. What bad luck. I'm telling you, I want to see 800,000 yuan in cash tomorrow. Otherwise, you can just wait to be roasted to death outside. Kane kicked Paige a few times. He was really too hot to bother arguing with Paige. After kicking her, he left. The cherry pudding was finally ready. With Levi's ice elemental supernatural ability, we even saved the step of putting it in the refrigerator to chill. I sat at the door eating the pudding and listened to Paige sobbing and crying as she recovered. After finding that threatening me was of no use, she started playing the emotional card. Natalia, I know I've always been very willful, but we are the only family members left for each other in this world. Don't you have the heart to watch me be roasted to death or starve to death? Natalia, I really know I was wrong. I just thought you were too tired before, so I wanted to drag you to relax and slow down to experience life. I almost burst out laughing. What high-sounding words. Her enjoyment was all for my own good, to form a contrast with me and let me understand the benefits of the slow life. Really, if I hadn't been shouldering the burden for her, where would she have gotten the conditions to slow down? I opened the door and stared expressionlessly at Phoebe, who was kneeling on the ground. She pounced forward and tried to hug my legs, but I quickly dodged. All right, what do you want this time? Paige seemed to have grasped at a straw. The bank card. Natalia, please give me the bank card. She pretended to be considerate. It's so hot outside. I don't want you to go. I can go by myself. I reached behind me and grabbed the card holder I had already prepared, and threw it directly into her arms. Here you are, don't bother me anymore in the future. Paige thought I didn't see the resentment in her eyes. She must be thinking of finding an opportunity to kill me after withdrawing the money. What a coincidence. I was thinking the same thing. 6. Paige ran out of the door while it was still dark. The temperature at night is now also above 50 degrees Celsius. The ground is like a heated baking tray, and you can feel the heat even through your shoes. But Paige only had a few pieces of cloth wrapped around her feet. She usually doesn't go out and walks around barefoot at home because her feet have a beautiful shape, and her male fans like to see them. I stood by the window and quietly observed her embarrassed figure. The bank is just around the corner, and I can just see it from the room I'm in now. There is an emergency power supply there, so the ATM can still be used. Paige entered the password several times and her face showed an expression of disbelief. I couldn't help laughing. Paige asked for the bank card, and I gave it to her so readily because, of course, there was no money in the bank card. I had already spent all my money on renting the house, buying freezers, and various foods, and I had even maxed out some of my credit cards. The temperature outside was very high, and Paige quickly returned in a sorry state. I leaned against the doorframe at an angle and watched her climb the stairs with a pained grimace. Most of Paige's clothes are revealing dresses. Even if she put on several pieces, her arms were still exposed. At this moment, her fair arms had been burned red by the high temperature, and there were many burns on her soles caused by the high temperature. I, who was literally roasted to death by the high temperature in my previous life, knew exactly what that feeling was like. The pain on Paige's body was not even 1/10 of what I had endured at that time. Natalia, you did it on purpose. You tricked me with an empty bank card. How could that be? I yawned lazily, still holding a sweet honeydew melon in my hand. You only asked for the bank card, and I gave it to you. There's no money in it at all. What's the use of giving it to me? That has nothing to do with me. You didn't ask. Paige pounced on me and tried to grab me, but I raised my foot and kicked her flying without hesitation. You don't earn money yourself and live this so-called slow life at home, but when something goes wrong, you remember my kindness and expect me to change my mind and help you. Is that possible? Since you like enjoying life so much, then enjoy it to your heart's content. I closed the door, completely cutting off her wailing. Kane came to the door again the next day. Since Paige couldn't pay the money, she could only try her best to please him with her body. But you can please someone for a while, not for a lifetime. The electricity bill is getting more and more expensive, and the living conditions for people are becoming more and more harsh. Kane is now in urgent need of money. He treated Paige like a commodity and traded her in the community to exchange for money to buy electricity and use the air conditioner. The door of Paige's house was wide open, and many men were coming in and out. Avoiding the door of my house from a distance, Levi stood at the door, seemingly deep in thought. His expression was complicated, but in the end, he didn't say anything. I know he is an extremely kind and sincere person, but there is still one day left until the end of our agreement, and there's not much he can do. It will be over soon. I will end all of this tonight. I lowered my eyelids and looked outside the door with him. We went out to explore the surroundings again at night. When Levi left the house, he seemed to feel sorry for something and deliberately left the door slightly ajar. When we went back 2 hours later, we found that Paige had died in the freezer. Many things in the house had been smashed by her. The power supplies of several freezers had been unplugged, and the food inside had been destroyed beyond recognition. Paige's mouth was stuffed with ice cream, and there was still a smile on her face. Levi turned his head aside and clenched his fists. I knew that if the door was left open, Paige would definitely come in. I walked quickly into the unit door, and the shadow of being literally roasted to death by the high temperature in my previous life faded a little. When a person suddenly enters a low-temperature environment from a high-temperature environment and eats a lot of cold drinks, their body won't be able to bear it. And there is a high possibility of sudden death. If Paige had been calmer and less greedy, she could actually have found a way to survive. According to the agreement, let's go. I took stock of the remaining food at home, only leaving compressed biscuits and instant noodles that were easy to store, and distributed the rest to the people in the community. Levi belongs to a special management department and is considered to be within the establishment. The higher-ups are now vigorously recruiting people with water element, ice element, and thunder element supernatural abilities. He revealed his identity and wanted to recruit me, so I made an agreement with him. He wouldn't interfere with my actions within 5 days and needed to help me when necessary. In exchange, I would go with him. Now that Paige has received her due punishment, I have nothing left to linger for. And I left this place with him, in this life. I won't be roasted to death due to the exhaustion of my supernatural power like in my previous life. I'm going to start my own chapter.